Hi, Steve.
Hi, Jim.
We're less than a week away. Do you have your decorations up yet?
There's a new holiday coming up.
Well, Record Store Day. I'm wondering if you put your Record Store Day decorations out.
Oh my God, yes, I got vinyl hanging from every tree. And welcome to two guys talking about records and about Record Day holidays, which tis the season. Forget that Christmas, forget that jolly old Saint Nick. It's Record Store Day. The rest of it means nothing.
This is the one that
I
counts.
That's right. It's one that counts. So, you know what? Buy for your family and
Yeah.
everybody else. Go to your local record store. This is the season to shop.
Yep.
So, I am Steve, and I am a record collector that obviously likes Record Store Day.
Indeed. And my name's Jim, and I own a record store. And I also like Record Store Day, but for me, it's not so much day. It's like Record Store month leading up to it. I'm holding it together,
Yeah,
though. Well, like I said, we're less than a week away, and I'm starting to feel the heat here at the store.
that's right. Lots to get prepared in that and ready to go. But it is exciting, isn't it?
It is, and we'll talk a little bit about Record Store Day coming up here later on in the episode. We actually have a lot to cover today in this. We got the finals of our tournament, the March Mad thing that is not madness. The
Yeah.
tournament of Most Essential is over. The votes are in and they're tabulated.
Yep.
And I don't want to give anything away, but oh, it was down to the Who and Led Zeppelin and we'll get to that in just a second. That's what we
Yeah.
call a tease. And I want
There
to
we
talk
go.
about a newly announced album that I think both of us are a little excited about, but maybe a
Yeah.
little hesitant at the same time.
Exactly right. Yes.
So
Yes.
all of that and more coming up on today's episode of
And
Two
more.
Guys Talking About Records. But first, because this is the Vinyl Community Podcast, we of course like to share our recent pickups. And Steve, this is supposed to be a quiet week leading into the expensive Record Store Day. How quiet were you?
Well, as far as quantity, I was fairly quiet.
Okay.
As far as money, maybe not so
So
quiet.
much. Oh
But
no.
I went to a new record store up north, and
Okay.
I hadn't been to Longmont, and it was, what was it called even? It was called Recycled Records, is what it was called.
Okay.
And
Cool name.
I'll be doing the video will be coming out either this week or next week, but it was pretty amazing. It was an amazing store. Everything's in totes though. You have to flip the totes. And they're on big
Yeah.
metal shelving and it goes up high. And we're talking records go up toward the ceiling.
Wow.
So yeah, you have to see it to believe it, Jim. But you will see it. But I did find a couple. First one was the White Album, but it's Suicide, the White Album. It does say
Okay.
Suicide
Oh, I
there.
can see
And
the raised lettering there a little bit.
yep, there they are. This is like a greatest hits. Not that, how does Suicide do a greatest hits? I don't know because they really don't have any. But uh, a lot of the songs are from their first album, which is to me their greatest, but I've never heard their other albums. So this was interesting to get. Some of the later songs actually sound like they should be from the 60s, like a pop group. It
Really?
was really
Wow.
different on how they changed and what they were doing. But yeah, I just saw that. I didn't know that this was out, and I thought, huh, I need to give that a shot to find out what some of the other Suicide sounds like. Because that first album is one of my all-time favorite albums.
Now, is that actually titled the White Album, or is it just a compilation, or just
No, it's
self-titled?
just titled. I don't know what the hell is it. I can't even read. It's called Surrender. There we go.
Okay, there we
Good
go.
call. It's called Surrender.
Thank you.
But I call it the White Album. Then this
Sacrilege.
was the big one, and this about dropped my jaw when I saw it. This is the original
Oh,
of Howlin' Wolf Real Folk Blues, and this cover is gorgeous. This was not a honey hole purchase. The vinyl, there was just only maybe a couple slight scratches in there that doesn't make any difference. You don't hear anything with it, and it has The original inner sleeves in there,
Wow.
chest checker, and it's in great shape. Whoever had this took good care of it. Now, this wasn't cheap, but it wasn't bad when I looked at Discogs. So what I spent, I felt okay of, because the first time I go, whoa, look at that thing. Uh, but it is just it's wonderful, to get that Muddy Waters this year and now
Yep.
a Howlin' Wolf. For me, just two of the greatest bluesmen, and so yeah, I was kind of giddy on this one. The place had a lot of things that made me giddy. this this was the giddiest that I picked up. So I
Giddy
got
up.
that.
But yeah, you've got,
Giddy
and
up.
to get those older blues albums, OGs, in such good condition has got to be just thrilling.
It is. Absolutely. They're 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 like a gem in the collection.
Yep.
That
Very
and
cool.
just bringing me enjoyment. Vinyl Me Please. Finally, I had the video on my channel on Tuesday about my love of Vinyl Me Please. My order from August that I said was going to come in at Christmas
Yeah.
finally came in today, and it was determined that I did not specify the year, which Christmas the year it was. They might have been thinking 2025, but as I showed in my video, they did send me in a holiday Christmas box. So I mean, and it's from the Best Damn Record Club. So, so that is called irony.
Yes. You
Oh
change
my
the
God.
name to Would You Please Vinyl Me Please?
Uh-huh. But I picked up Charles Bradley, Victim of Love. Just fantastic soul. He's a great soul singer. Folks, I was just trying to get rid of credit, so I had to go in and try to find something that I would enjoy. And so I thought, well, you know what? I like Charles Bradley. I used to have one of his albums, so that was good. De La Soul, Stakes is High. Haven't even had a chance to listen to this one yet. I've been work's been so busy. I maybe listen to an album a day now.
Uh-oh.
But this, I've never heard this De La Soul album, but I like De La Soul, generally. And so I think that should be good. And then this was going out on a limb. It's a Sun Ra album,
Oh man.
spiritual jazz. Now, generally, I hate that stuff. I mean, he bought an album. He hates that genre. You know what? I got some credit. I thought I'll give this a shot. Let's just find out. Some of it wasn't too bad. Some of it I kind of liked. Is there some squawking going on where you go, you're not playing anything, I don't think. You're just making some noise. For others, they would totally disagree with me.
Yep.
But if I don't know unless I listen to it, right? There's that thing we talked about called streaming. I think we mentioned that last
We
week.
did.
Should have maybe done that, but now you know what? It's not bad.
Sun Ra
it's
is
okay.
an acquired taste, actually.
Oh, very much so. Very, very much an acquired taste. So yeah, I got those out of Vinyl Me Please. I have a couple other albums going out. Hey, your Christmas present came in, Jim. So
Okay.
yeah, I know it might be for 2025 now. I don't
Next
know.
year,
Of course,
which is this
we
year.
already we already said Record Store Day is our Christmas, right?
It is. That's true. That's true. That's the
All right,
holiday to live
just
for.
the season. Yeah, exactly. So, that's kind of that's it. There's the Denver Record shows today, and it's in a place that's 3 stories high. So
Yeah.
you just kind of keep winding your way through this, and the temptations are great, and the prices are even greater. So you really, you have to go in. Maybe taking some sedatives or something to keep you really calmed down.
Chill. And Steve,
Exactly.
on the way out, don't be tempted as you're leaving. When you see that one, go, oh my God. Because you did that, I think, last year at last year's show with the
I
Cramps.
did.
And
Yeah,
you didn't even
it was
think about it.
no, it was a Diametic Gallus album.
Oh,
Yeah, at the
okay, yep.
very end. I'm all done. And then there it was. So my buddy that I'm going with, Tice, he's going to bring a taser, and as I'm grabbing for something, he's just kind of blast me. Okay, I'll put it back.
Keep you in check. It is record store day, and you got a big one next week too, right? You
Yeah,
hope.
exactly. Yeah,
Wow.
that's why I've really been calm the last few weeks, and it really hasn't been nearly what I haven't spent a lot. So I tried,
Well, good.
but I failed on the Howling Wolf.
Well, cool.
What about you, Jim?
Well, I had an interesting week. It was kind of a quiet week. Let me get my stuff called up over here. Um, Found one, came through the store, and I had actually got it out, and I listened to it because it sounded familiar, and there was a couple of familiar names on it. And that's the mistake I make. If it doesn't sell in the first couple days when I drop it, then
Uh,
well, maybe I'll just keep this aside for a little while and see.
yeah,
I've never heard of the group is called Paris.
yeah,
Have you heard of these guys?
I
Kind
have
of.
heard. I've seen that album.
It's Bob Welch and
Okay.
Hunt Sales and Glenn McCormick. So now Bob Welch and Hunt Sales, I know, and McCormick, I
Yeah.
had to be reminded of. Um, who is he? So Paris, yep, rock power music trio, American, formed in '75 by Bob Welch, who had just left Fleetwood Mac, bassist Glenn McCormick, who was formerly of Jethro Tull, and the original drummer was Tom Mooney, who had been a member of Nas with Todd Rundgren. But this is their second album, released the same year, not 2061, but 1976. Um, and that's when Hunt Sales came in to take over on drums. And Hunt Sales, very interesting person. If you're familiar, a brother of Tony Sales, and both of them are the sons of Soupy Sales, the old television personality.
Hmm.
Michigan connections throughout as well. But Hunt and Tony Sales went on to be in Tin Machine with Bowie,
Yeah.
amongst some other stuff. So I gave this a listen. You know, I recognize Welch on here, and it's very recognizable when he does his vocals, and it does float that line between the Welch involved Fleetwood Mac and his solo stuff, because this kind of is
Hmm.
sandwiched in between all of that. And then it gets really funky. It's really kind of weird. It's got that old rock sound. Um, and then it just goes into some funk. I think that's maybe Sales. Um, I don't know. It's a rough record to peg down. They broke up soon after this, and I don't even want to call them a super group, but it's definitely an interesting listen. I haven't looked at Spotify yet to see if there's going to be a sound sample from this. I hope there is, so you can get a chance to check it out. But yeah,
Yeah.
it goes all over the map. Discogs, let me go back to it again. It calls it pop rock and glam from
Okay.
'76. And I'm not going to argue with the glam. Maybe, but it definitely, there's a couple of songs that got some funk in them. How's that?
Okay.
Secondly, this one I know I'm not going to find per se in um, Spotify for a sound, but the sound samples will be there. I picked up a promo copy from Atco Records, and it is one of their promotional LP record for Department In-Store Play. This is up my alley for this kind of cool stuff, and it's got some selections from Cream and their Goodbye album and Vanilla Fudge near the beginning. So one side is Cream and the other side is Vanilla Fudge. Very understated. I picked this up. I actually had on my day off a couple weeks back. I went down to the not Flint proper, but it's a town called Linden, which is near Fenton, south of us here. I
Mhm.
got a little diner that I like to go to with my father when we head down that way. And as we were leaving this diner that I've been going to for years, he's like, "Hey, there's records in the store right next door." And I looked, and I'll be danged, the store that had been something else the last time I was at this diner was now a record store, a little small record store. Went in, and it was Jerry from Jack's Stash Records in Flint,
Yeah.
Michigan. He had moved, I think, in January, around about there, to this smaller town of Linden's, maybe about 15, 20 minutes from Flint. And we had a nice little conversation. I'd known Jerry for a couple of years. He did some record shows way back when we did record shows in Midland. He came up for that. Really interesting story on how they got their record store started. And he had just decided to move out of downtown Flint. He was the downtowniest of downtown Flint with that
Yeah.
store, and now he's relocated it to a just a real small little town and the outskirts of not so much, but near Flint and there too. So it was neat to see him, and I picked up this and a couple of other little albums from there. Little promo stuff, very neat. Good to have in the promo side of my collection. So, now, did you say, had you been to Jack's Stash when they were downtown Flint? Do you remember going to that?
Yeah, I had Yeah, I went in there, did a whole tour of it,
Okay. Yep.
and filmed it. Nice guy. It was a good little story. Just kind of surprised with downtown Flint, but then
Yep.
Flint had a few others I like. Wow, they're kind of scary.
Yep. Nice little store as well, and he has got one room dedicated to punk. Next time I go down there, I'll have to
Wow.
text you. He's got
Yeah.
a punk room. How's that?
God.
And
Wow.
finally, on my my pickups this week around, I've got one from a group called Art in America, and that is their self-titled Art in America album. This one is from 1983. These guys are from Detroit, and what do they call them? A symphonic prog rock band from Detroit, formed in 1980. And again, this is their 1983 LP. And I will say that this does fit our definition previously established of prog rock, symphonic prog rock to boot. So you've got a little yes in there. But, and I know we've talked about this in the earlier days of our podcast, it's got those feelings of prog and synth prog on there, but a definite Michigan flavor to it. It's hard for me to explain, but that Michigan sound that some bands get, these guys have got some of that Detroit-ish rock sound in there. Not so much like the Knack, maybe things like Bittersweet Alley or something along those lines, but it's mixed with that symphonic prog of Yes-ish era and
Huh.
Parsons and the like. So very interesting stuff. I don't know if I can find a sound sample of this, but I will definitely try. I don't know if these guys did too much other than this. Let me look really quickly. Heck, no, this was their only album in the 80s. And then
Okay.
they put out some CDs and CDRs in the 2000s and then 2013. So this, for all intent and purposes, is their only album. So fun stuff. That's it for my pickups. So as we do
Okay.
each and every week, folks, I will strive to see if I can find some Spotify samples of these albums and the other stuff we're going to talk about today, so you can listen in a little bit on what we're listening to. And Steve's going to, I'll put like 5 cuts from Sun Ra up there for you.
Yeah, there we go. Yes, something to dance to.
Sure. And you can find the Spotify playlist with all the sound samples in the description of both the Spotify episode and the YouTube episode. It's just a link. I don't think you need to have a Spotify account to play it. It should play through the maybe. I could be wrong. We'll see what happens on that. Hey, speaking of things that have been ongoing for weeks here, it feels like, how about we wrap up our tournament? The Tournament
Yep.
of Champions, so to speak, Steve.
Yes.
Several weeks back, those of you who have been paying attention to our podcast may remember that we started an Essential Albums tournament. And this was a fun thing to do, Steve. Actually, do you kind of agree to that?
Yeah, it was. It's fun to see. I guess there wasn't huge surprises to us, but we threw in some very different albums to try to see what would
Yep.
happen. But yeah, it kind of came down to what we thought.
I don't have the bracket. I suppose I could call that up very quickly, but it really kind of, we started off with the 16 albums that we consider to be essential for collections. And I don't think we took heat, but we explained ourselves as to why there was a certain big album that was not included on that being Pink Floyd's
Yeah.
Dark Side of the Moon, simply because so essential, everybody has it already. So we didn't need to kind of rehash that, but it wormed its way down. And folks, I'm here to tell you, this did not end the way Steve and I had expected it to.
No.
I think that this qualifies as an upset, don't you?
Yeah, we'll give it that. There's upsets in the NCAA tournament, so why not this?
So here we go. Let me call it up here. Your winner for the tournament in the most essential album is The Who, and Who's Next? Beating out Led Zeppelin 4. by
Yep.
65% to 34%. Absolutely astounding to me, Steve, that
Yeah.
that happened. Why do you think? I mean, we everybody had their chance to vote on this. What's your
Yeah.
take on how that shook out?
Maybe this one's everyone it's in their collection already too. For I really don't know. Led Zeppelin has a lot of great albums, but so does the Who. But
Yeah,
when I do think of the Who, that is the one. That is the go-to album. And oftentimes when you think of Led Zeppelin, people, I like one, or I like Led Zeppelin 2 or House of a Holy, and they really kind of go back and forth on what they want. That one's overplayed. Uh, Possible, or just the fact that people like the Who better than Zepp.
that's apparently the listeners and viewers of Two Guys Talking About Records do. So cool.
Yep.
But thank you to everyone who put up with this over the past several weeks and voted in this. I know that there was probably some wagers. Some folks are cashing in now. The Who, I think, would have been the underdog long shot in this final week.
It would have been. So I hope the odds were good for those people and they did really well. And they might have stuffed the box because of that.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if that's possible, but I would imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine there's
They,
hackers that are working their way around us.
well, they got their dog to vote, their
There we
wife, their
go.
kids, whatever. Put it in here. Put it in here.
Well, we won't get fooled again if they try it one more time, will they?
Yeah. No.
Oh, boo. So again, this was fun to do, Steve. And I don't know if you've seen there were some comments on the YouTube side of things asking us to do this again next year. So
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah, we
we'll
definitely will.
we'll have to come up with a new topic of sorts, obviously,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
kind of make it fresh and fun once again. But yeah, it's definitely surprising. I mean, the Who, I'll spin this today in the store just because to give some props to that album for winning out.
Yep. It's celebration.
There we go. So let's see here. There's a couple of other things, Steve, that I wanted to get to before we start talking a little bit about Record Store Day. And it's going to be a busy week here at the store, so I don't know how long we're going to run today on this. But I sent you a link the other night in the form of a music video
Yeah.
for a band that kind of came up out of nowhere. It seems like a couple of years ago now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
When did
was.
that?
It's a couple years ago. In fact, it was my album of the year in 2023.
23? I think the album says 22, so it may have been
Oh, was
late
it 22? Wow.
It
Okay.
may have been late 22. I am talking, of course, of the band Wet Leg. And they hit hard in 23, 22 and 23 and just impressed the heck out of both of us. And yeah, album of the year. It takes I'll admit, even being a record store guy, I'm tough to impress from time to time with new music, and these guys impressed me with this album. I thought it was a great mixture of what'd you call it, punk, alt rock, whatever where would you kind of label that?
Yeah, there's some punk, alt rock, there's pop in there.
Yep.
And it's just hooks. I mean, the hooks that they
Yes.
put on that thing is incredible. I mean, they lodge into your brain and you can't get out.
Things like Shay's Lounge, when that one just
Yeah.
sticks and sticks and sticks in your head. So when I saw that they were releasing a new album, I sent a link to Steve and said, "Had you heard of this yet?" And he had not. I have actually their website called up. Their website, by the way, and taking a look at this is absolutely kind of, it's meant to be a throwback of older MySpace websites almost. But yeah, Wet Leg and their brand new album entitled Moisturizer is due out on July 11th. And
Yeah.
in looking at this, there is a couple of different variations that are out there. I guess there's going to be a clear vinyl. They've got that listing on there for $38. A black vinyl version, same price, I think. Oh no, that's a little cheaper on here. So the stuff I'm seeing from our distributors has them priced out a little differently. Standard compact disc, picture disc. Looks like that might be a website. I've not seen that. And a cassette. They're still trying to make cassettes happen, for crying out loud.
One way or the other, we're going to get you to buy a cassette. Shove it down you.
So, but regardless, Wet Leg is They're a fun group, and the first song that was out, it was called "Catch These Fists," and it sounds like the stuff from their first album. I don't want to get too critical of it, but it's really hard to judge what an album's, I think, going to be from the
Yeah.
first cut released alone, especially this far out. Your take on
It,
that on the new song?
to me, it had a harder edge to it. And there's definitely the hooks in there, but I felt it was even a little harder rock tossed into it.
Really? Okay.
Was kind of yeah, quirky video like all their other videos. You sometimes scratch your head and go, "What? What am I watching? I'm not sure." But, uh, yeah, the vocals are good. I saw they've already been on the Jimmy Fallon show
Yep.
playing,
Yep.
and they're out doing concerts already, slowly putting in their stuff. So LP, yeah, we've talked a lot, you and me off to the side. Just this second album is always scary.
Yep.
When you have just a phenomenal first album because you're wanting this, it's good for a group to experiment, but you really, really love what was on that one album because it just was so catchy.
Yep. And you're right. The sophomore album is usually something that could make or break a band. And, I'm hoping for them that they do well with this. I think they will. But yeah, we'll kind of see where it goes. So yeah, that's July 11th, Wet Leg and Moisturizer. And I'm going to need to hear a few more cuts on that. Whatever their website says, I'm looking at our distributor sites here, and it looks like $32 is the list price for both the indie exclusive clear vinyl and the black vinyl version. I've got those priced the same. So, but I don't see the picture disc on ours, so that may be a web exclusive theirs. And the cassette's
Okay.
coming in, of course, like whatever they're gonna put the cassette on for. So I think it's a safe bet. We'll talk about this one down the line as it gets a little closer. I'm sure that will kick in and put our 2 cents in on this one.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to hear more from it. Again, it's kind of an anticipated album coming up. So, yeah, we'll see.
One other thing, too, Steve, I wanted to follow up on before we dive into some of the Record Store Day discussion was last week we talked about the RIAA numbers, and I'd mentioned that I was going to attempt to look for something other than anecdotal evidence of the sale of used records. Pretty
Yeah.
much came up dry on this. I even asked my good buddy AI Grok about this, and basically that it dug up different pages on this, and it says that comprehensive statistics or reports specifically detailing the sale of used vinyl records in 2024 are limited in the available data. So the vinyl market,
Mm,
particularly for used records, is less systematically tracked compared to new vinyl sales. Stuff we talked about last week. We knew this already. So they
yeah.
just basically kind of filling in some other anecdotal evidence. Um, Wrapped up by saying the lack of precise 2024 data stems from several factors, biggest being that most independent retailers don't report sales to tracking entities, and the resale market, spanning physical stores, online marketplaces, and even private transactions, is inherently decentralized. So comments from industry insiders, such as those at Zia Records in 2018, going back a few years, though, indicated that used vinyl sales at indie stores could rival or exceed new sales in some contexts, but updated figures for 2024 are not explicitly available. We knew that already. So in summary, they say no specific statistical report isolates used vinyl record sales for 2024. The market is likely robust, potentially matching or exceeding new vinyl sales volumes based on historical patterns and current industry sentiment. So
Okay. So
it's
it's
a lot of
likely robust.
it's a lot of words that basically say what we said last week, that it's doing all right, um,
Yeah.
just a little different. How's that?
Yeah. And there is just so many used stores. There's a lot. Just when you think of the quantity of used record stores
Yep.
out there that have grown and grown. And they all seem to, they're still ticking. I haven't seen any yet that have folded. I've heard from other people in their town this record stores closing a lot of times just because the owners are really old and they're just no one wanted to buy it or
Yep.
whatever. So yeah, we just close it down.
And the other thing too, if you take into account everything from a garage sale to private sales to record shows like the one you're going to
Hmm.
even thrift stores, for crying out loud, or antique stores that sell used vinyl, there's so much that needs to be accounted for. And I think that
Yeah,
there's no real way to count it other than to say, yeah, we think it's still going good, still going well. So,
yeah. Most places I've gone to, there's always people shopping. You
yep.
know, the record shows are always very crowded. And otherwise, yeah, I see wherever I'm at, just people and new people coming in, talking about it. Yeah.
Speaking of new people, it's that time of year. I asked if your decorations were up.
Yep. Yep. I took all my most expensive albums and hung them out there because, it's a celebration.
There you go. Oh, be careful with that one. To
Yeah.
hang out that Zamrock. It's been outside
Yeah.
most of its life anyway. So what the heck, Steve?
It is. What's it going to, maybe I'll get washed.
There you go. So we are talking, of course, about Record Store Day 2025 coming up this year. If it feels early, it's because it is early. April 12th is the day to head to your favorite independent record store. And I can tell you, Steve, here at our store, things are in full swing. And by that, I mean Kim's coming in to help me price things later today. No, so much so, too, that my typical days off on Monday and Tuesday here at the store, I will now be at the store working on stuff, and I'm expecting some shipments to come in. I think we're doing pretty well on the fulfillment, all the stuff that we ordered. There's a few things that are, I think, going to be scarce, but not many. I think we're doing pretty good on this. But
Okay.
again, I've got 2 more shipments coming in, one scheduled for Monday, one scheduled for Tuesday. So if I'm here, I might as well be here and get the other stuff done that we need to
Yeah.
get done for the record store. But there is, even yesterday, I had somebody in the store who was brand new to this. There was one of our other customers a friend of mine, Ryan, and the kid was asking, okay, so exactly how does this work? What do I do? And it's great to see that kind of enthusiasm and just he's asking questions about what's the best way to do this? What kind of strategy should I use to make sure I get in and get the stuff that I want to get? And my answer is like, well, it really does depend on what it is you're looking for. And I think not only that, but it depends on what market you're in. Here in mid-Michigan, the record lover where you lived for many years, you know that the strategy is a little bit different than from
Mhm.
somebody in Detroit or Denver or bigger cities. And for
Yeah.
many years, you said you used to go to Detroit to hit the record store day stuff.
Yeah, I'd wait in line and I would get there early and always generally be first or second in line till record store day kept growing and growing and then those bastards would stay out all night long. It's like, what? I come in and go, what? What's this? What are you guys doing, man? So yeah, my strategy had to change. It's called buying donuts and maybe some coffee, and you give it to the people in front of you to remember you and say, I'm really looking for this. And if you guys happen to see it as they're eating a donut, you go, well, yeah, we can pull that for you. See, that's the strategy. Bribe them. For you, it's just how much can I buy that number from you for?
Yeah. Well, I'm like la 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 as the record store guy. I don't want to hear that because I know that goes on and I've heard that go on, especially last year with the Taylor Swift stuff.
Yeah.
I'd heard that was happening out in the line here.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
my advice was based. Oh yeah, I guess somebody went through the line like a Taylor Swifty father who
Uh-huh.
didn't bother showing up until 7:30, saw 75 people in line, and then went to the front and said, "I give you $100, $200, whatever it is, to land one of these." Now, again,
Back of the line.
that's I don't know. The temptation would be there, I think, for some people, but again, I don't
It's
as
for his daughter. It's for his
yeah,
daughter.
okay.
Come on.
This year, I am getting questions about the Taylor Swift release, but nowhere near last year's. How's that sound? Or
Yeah.
previous years with hers. So I don't know
Okay.
what that means exactly at this point. I will say that we put our wish list out, the request for wish list to help us order. And I think that I've probably got about 25 or so of those Taylor Swift 7 inches coming for Saturday.
Mhm.
Not everything's here yet, but I do have some of them. Um, that I think is a little bit less than I had the last time around, so we'll see how that goes. But the demand seemed to be a little shy on that.
Do
Uh,
you think they're waiting for Target to drop one on Friday again?
yeah, if they do, they do. I've given up. I've given up trying to figure that one out. We had talked, I think, in a previous episode about some of our picks for the record store day, and I don't want to rehash on that, but just based upon some of the things I'm seeing coming in, as I mentioned, I think that some of the titles are going to be rationed a little bit. And one of them I know for certain we had put a lot in of was the Wicked soundtrack.
Hmm.
Double LP, there's only 2,000 of these things being pressed, and it is being
Oh,
touted as
wow.
a record store day exclusive release. So from our standpoint, I think I ordered like 15 of those when we put our orders in, and so far I have gotten zero. But I think I'm
Wow.
getting maybe two or three for the store, and we probably had over like a dozen requests for it. So this one I think is going to be a tough get, and
Okay.
if it's for us, it's going to be a tough get, I think, for a lot of folks as well. The other, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it sounds like something the flippers are really going to want to try to grab,
Yeah. Yep.
sadly.
The other one that I'm seeing a lot of chatter on is the Kelsey Ballerini double LP 2500 record store day first. So this, another version will show up. It's the 10th anniversary edition of the first time. Yeah, 10th anniversary edition. But I'm getting a lot of folks asking about that. That is another one I think that folks are kind of excited about, and we'll see from there if that pans out. The Charlie XCX one, there's one with her and where did that go here with Billie Eilish and Charlie XCX. So she's actually Charlie XCX has got two, a full LP called Number One Angel, and then there's a 7 inch dueled up with Billie Eilish. There's 10,000 of those singles. I think I've got plenty of those. There's going to be a lot of that happening, and I don't think that's going to be much of an issue on that. And then the last one that I think folks are, I'm seeing kind of a trend here. Um, where did it go? Gracie Abrams, her live from Radio City Music Hall. This is another one. There's 12,000 of these, and it's a record store day first, so I don't think that's going to be a tough one to get a hold of. But that's another one that folks are actually really, they seem pretty excited about from the standpoint here.
You know just what you just talked about, these most asked things, what's really interesting is it's for the younger, generally the
Yep.
younger folks, which is exciting to see. They're wanting stuff on this record store day and they're going to work to get it and try to get in line. I mean, there's excitement on
Yep.
that end of the spectrum.
And even with the Taylor Swift, I think we talked a little bit about what I'd heard the numbers were going to be on the Taylor Swift fortnight. They still have announced, they have not announced, rather, the official quantity that were pressed. But I
Okay.
believe what I heard that this is going to be in the hundreds of thousands. So I don't think that this is going to be, it's listed as an exclusive, but I don't know as if the demand is going to be there. I could be wrong, and I'll let you know next week if I was wrong on this one and what'll happen with that.
Wow.
One of the other things that I'm going to make a little prediction here that this is going to be a sleeper one, and it's only because of a very recent event. I only got one copy of the Top Secret soundtrack with Val Kilmer, who just passed away. And I
Okay.
get a feeling because of just the topical nature of his passing that folks are going to be diving at this one. And there's only 1,000. It's a RSD limited run regional focus. And I got one, but only one.
Okay.
So we'll see how that, I doubt that that's going to last more than 10 minutes when we open up.
Yeah. When did that movie? I've never heard of that movie.
That movie was, holy cow, was that 84?
Okay,
80,
it
early
sounds
early
like, yeah.
80s. This was kind of
Okay.
this was a kind of an airplane-esque type of film. It was a
Okay.
Zucker, Abrams Zucker, so it was Airplane. It's
Yeah.
the guys that put Airplane together. Kind of their take on Bond and spy movie type things, I think.
Got it.
So
All right.
that should be a fun one. So you mentioned you no longer really feel the need to stand in line, do you, for record store days?
No, I've kind of gotten past that. What I have found generally in the past is you can find this stuff afterwards. There'll be a few that you cannot, but I've even gotten stuff from you
Oh
afterwards.
yeah, yeah.
You go, yeah, I got this stuff left over. I go to the record stores. There's still quite a bit there because of the quantities people are buying, and when there's so many different things, it kind of spreads it out for everyone. You have to pick and choose what you really,
Yep.
really want. And oftentimes, what I want is not what everyone else is really trying
So
to get.
you've got that little bit of an advantage going in
Yeah.
that you don't really quite
Yeah, the
need
record
that.
stores, they're just going, oh, good. Someone finally bought that crappy album. Thank God for that. We got it
Well,
out of our inventory.
I think that you're not giving yourself enough credit for basically driving the Zamrock resurgence across the
Yes.
country, across North America, so much so that there's a Zamrock album in the record store day drops this year. A couple.
Exactly. Yes.
So
I totally take that as from me. Yes, for making that happen.
they watch the Steve Carlson Vinyl Community Channel and say, okay, let's
No,
see. But anyway, the
Shamrock.
lining up is an interesting thing. We've talked before about previous record store days, and before we owned the store, we opened up in 2017, and before that, my daughter and I would go down to Ann Arbor. I wouldn't go as far as Detroit, but we'd go Ann Arbor, hit the record stores there, the ones that I did when I would go to when I was a kid, long before record store day. But we'd then scoot up to East Lansing and hit the ones near MSU and make a day of it and kind of come back around. And now that we've got the store, since we've had the store, obviously that I'm kind of busy that day, so I don't get to go
Yeah.
out to other ones. But the tips and tricks, I think, for folks, the best advice, and this is going back to the young customer that was in yesterday and asking about that, is that it's a great experience. I mean, if you've got the fortitude to get in line at some point in the overnight hours, it's a fun experience. It's not for everybody. It's probably for the younger of body and heart. I would imagine,
Hmm.
especially here in the mid Michigan area. I think their forecast is calling for it to be in the 30s overnight. So it's gonna be a chill one, but that won't stop people. We're probably going to have people in line at 5 or 6 o'clock the night before, just to get some of these
Wow.
in, and they will camp out. And when folks ask me, okay, again, this is our little store in Midland, Michigan, in the middle of Michigan. It's going to vary as far as the times that people get in line for other stores. But I would imagine by at least 2 or 3 in the morning in the AM side is when we'll start to see our line start to really fill out, at least 20, 30 people.
Our low that day is going to be 50 that night, 50
Oh, jeez.
degrees, and it'll be
That's
up to
good
80
looking.
degrees, Jim, during the
Oh,
day. So,
well, I
so
think we're
it won't
looking
be
at
so
we're looking at
bad.
30s overnight with a high in the mid 40s by the day, but at least it's not going to be snowing or icing this time around. I'm hoping.
Yeah, which you've had. Yeah,
Yep.
I know that's always the crapshoot there.
Yep.
I was always pretty lucky on record store days. When I would do the lines, I never had to deal with the rain or the snow. It would just be cold, and
Yep.
you know what? I'd bring a chair and just plop her down right there in front, and there
Hope
we
for the
go.
best. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the crowds I've always found are pretty chill. The folks sit, they'll talk music overnight. It's kind of a camaraderie thing where you're in
Hmm.
line, and I found for the most part that at least here there's not a lot of grumpiness happening with folks. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
they're tired and they're looking forward to this big day.
Hmm. I found that too, and and that's kind of part of it. That'd be the one reason why I would go and stand in line and wait is just to chat with other people. What are you getting? And then you
Yep.
just start talking music and going into that, and that's what it always was when I was standing in line. And we just kind of next person comes in. Well, what are you waiting? What are you trying to get? And you just kind of go through all that. It's because we're all there with one
Yep.
common purpose, one common goal, and one love.
Yep. And there's a method to the madness too, because if you're counting, well, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And here at our store, and I know
Yes.
other stores post the list of what they've got. I know the Electric Kish does that. We've got the numbers. I like to get my mug on YouTube and stuff, so we do a live stream the night before where I'll lay out the numbers of everything that we've got, so people can make their minds up on how best to do that. That's my little plug to watch our live stream the night before.
There you go.
But other stores, they run it differently. I've heard everything from, folks will just have a record store day table set up and people come in the line and they'll pick their stuff up out of there. Other stores, and I don't know if this is true, I've heard of another store in Michigan that actually takes and puts the record store day stuff in their general shelving, alphabetized with other stuff. And I can't even begin to fathom if that's true, what kind of pandemonium that causes. But maybe
Yeah.
the thought is you're digging through the rest of it, you'll pick more stuff out while you're there. For us here, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the one store I used to go to a lot in Detroit would have it all laid out as you would come in, and then you'd work into the used racks. But there would be everything. You'd be seeing it, kind of deciding what you want. Now the problem with that is it cost me more money because I was buying stuff that I was not planning on picking up. I go, what? That's there? What? We really didn't have or I didn't really know about that record store list back in the old days.
Yep.
One here that I've gone to, they do put it in the bins. It's front face. It's in the front of the bin. So as you walk through, I mean, these bins are just filled with it, but it is right out front.
That's cool. And for us here, space limitations are such that we keep our record store day stuff behind a table. The line comes in, they go to the table, they see the list. And, we've got a good crew of folks that help out during record store day. They tell, this is what I want. We give them that. But we also limit it too at our store here. And I think most stores do this as well, where you're only allowed one copy per release. That's going to stop some flippers. Now, you can get as many releases as you want to, but let's say that there's something that's fairly rare that I've only got 5 copies of. First person in line wants to get one for themselves and flip the rest, they could buy all 5 of them, and that hoses everybody else in the line over. So I think for us, as far as limiting it to one copy of each release that you want to get, really evens that out and makes that playing field and makes it fair for the other folks in line. And more importantly, kind of curtails the flippers.
Yeah, which is a good policy. And I know I've been in lines where they know, man, I'm too far back. So they get, someone up in the front. Can you pick that up for me and I'll pay you back or whatever? But I mean, that's just what you're going to do.
That's part of that there too. And we do the number system here too. So that really kind of helps. We had issues several years back with, one crazy friend getting in line at 1 a.m. and then in 15 minutes before we open, 10 of their friends show up and get in line with them. That's tremendously uncool. So
Yeah.
the numbers really stopped that here at least.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's very nice.
Yep. And then as far as I don't know if folks know this, the Record Store Day organization, part of their rules, obviously, that for stores like ours and any other store that participates, we're not allowed to reserve or pre-sell or anything along those lines. That's part of the game with Record Store Day. But there's also a rule that stipulates that record stores cannot sell these releases online until Sunday morning, the day after. You have to wait that full 24 hours before you can put these up online. And then they go so far as to say, if you do sell these online, it has to be on your branded website, i.e., the website that you sell them on has to be identified as your store. That does include the Discogs store, because if any record store that is on Discogs is identified as an independent record store, so you can sell that. And then they also go as far as to stipulate that they cannot be auctioned. They have to go near list price. So they say you can't gouge the morning after either. But yeah, the legit record stores that are selling these they're not allowed to sell them until Sunday morning after Record Store Day.
Yeah, and you'll see, the big one. I always think of Platinum Records is one I've looked at before to try to find something, and they just have massive amounts of stuff still there. But if you really want it, you gotta be ready, go after it. Yeah, and that's where some people, they don't even go out Record Store Day. They wait till the day after. Then that's just where they're able to get what they want, because generally somebody's going to have it.
I think that's another good point too, is that if you miss out on something, let's say that there's a tremendously limited run of something and you miss out on it at your local store, don't freak out and go on Discogs or especially eBay. I'm giving this advice, and spend 5 times what you would have normally spent at the record store to get it, because the legit stores are not allowed to list until that 24-hour mark hits. That means that if you hop on Saturday afternoon of record store day and pay an extra $100 for something that listed at $30, by that next morning, if you can be patient, you're likely to find them at the online postings from the legit record stores at or very, very near their list price without the scalping
Yeah.
or the flipping thing happening.
Yeah, absolutely. It's out there. Hey, some of these stores buy massive quantities. I've seen them. I've seen
Yeah.
so much record store day sitting in stores from years ago. They bought so much, so it's available. And I found things that I thought were so rare, hard to find. 6 months later, all of a sudden you pop into a store and go, "What? That's just there? Oh, well, okay."
It depends on the store, and kudos to the bigger stores, the bigger ones that can pull that kind of thing off. Speaking as a smaller store owner, I wish I could, but I can't sit on that kind of inventory. And so we're
No.
always kind of trying to play it as close to the vest as we can, saying that at the end of record store day weekend, maybe by Sunday afternoon, if we've got 15 copies of different albums left, we did well. I'd love to have more down the line, but the object is for us is to sell these records and to get them out as quickly as possible to the folks that do it. And, right now I'm looking back and I think that so far, less than a week out, I've got about 400 different copies of things already, which is
Sure.
it's a huge, it's kind of a nail biter as a small store owner.
Yeah, it's a big investment. And, what helps, and which I think is always really positive, is when you reach out and ask, what are people looking for? And then it gives
Yeah.
you an idea what to go and buy.
Yep.
Because every record store obviously has its own clientele that wants
Yep.
certain things. But when you look at with this newer music, we're trying to scratch our head, what's going to be good
Yeah.
on that? And suddenly you have, 25 people want this. All right, got a winner.
And the things that surprised me last year, the Chapel Roan stuff, but that was so limited. But now, there's still people looking for some of that. So you're right. It helps. And I'm glad that we do that here because it asks our customers what they want us to get. Again, with the caveat, of course, we can't hold it. But if you tell us, if 10 of you tell us you want this record, we'll order 15 and hopefully get 10. That's the game that we play.
Yeah. Yep. And you just got to get there and hope that there's not some people that didn't ask for it, they were ahead of you, because it is what it is. What are you going to do?
Regardless, Steve, I have a blast. I know it gets a little freaky being the store owner side of things, and having seen personally both sides of record store day now, both as the guy standing in line with his young daughter hoping to get a hold of the stuff that she wants and the stuff that I want, to the guy is nervously pacing around as the doors
Yeah.
open it up at 8, and hopefully we've got a good line and hopefully we've got enough of the things that people are looking for. I really wouldn't trade it. It's a fun event, and I'm tremendously thankful that the folks at the Record Store Day organization and the labels are this much into it, supporting this hobby for so many of us.
Yeah. And last April, we weren't as whoop about the list, but this April is
Yeah,
much better. And I've heard that from everybody, every kind of channel. It's Everyone's really impressed with the list.
that is. Well, I'm gonna do my little plug here. I'm gonna put our poster up this year again and talk a little bit about our stuff here at the store. I always have fun. We get the posters up, and lots of folks look forward to that as well. So what do you folks think? Are you really looking forward to this? Should it be a national holiday? Should we?
I think
should
so.
should Record Store Day be on the calendar per se for everyone?
Yeah. One other just little tip advice. If you're there's an album you look for, you can't get it, but if it says it's going to be back out again, it's just, it's not a limited exclusive, be patient.
Yep.
You're going to see it again.
You'll see. You may not see the colored vinyl, but you'll get the music, and that's what is important.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Well, cool. This is the time of year, Steve. You're getting busy with the work side of things, Mr. Retiree. We're going
Yep.
crazy
Yeah.
here at the store and the lead up to RSD and all of the things that go with it. But yeah, this it should be a fun week. I'm really looking forward to it. And next week, hopefully, you were able to make it somewhere at some point and get some stuff. And I'm going to be legit on this. There's a couple of releases I want that are already sitting back there. That there's only 2 damn copies of that Harvey Danger. It's like, okay, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But I also have the ability to try to reorder if they're still in stock down the line. So, but we'll see. But you may have some stuff to show off, and I might. I don't know. We'll see what happens next week.
Yep. I'll be out there. We'll see what we get.
All right. Well, as always, we thank you folks for tuning in and checking out Two Guys Talking About Records. This is the season, and we're going to be on with it again. So until next week, I want to say happy Record Store Day to everyone. But my name is Jim, and I own a record store. Next week, I'm going to be a little gravelly and tired, but I'll be here for you, man.
And I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas because it is, remember, just the season. So, yep. Enjoy your record Christmas. And
I don't even remember what you said.
I
I truthfully don't even remember what you said you were looking for me. So
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yep. So, have a great week.
All right. You folks have a great one. Thanks, Steve.
Yep. Bye, Jim.